Hey guys, Josh Kent with US Arms here to bring you another video on one of our patented technologies called Cam-Lock. We've got a couple of videos and comments or people asking questions about Cam-Lock. Some people think that it's kind of like a novelty item, or I guess maybe the juice is not worth the squeeze. So today we want to talk about Cam-Lock, the reason we invented it, and how it makes the AR-15 platform a more accurate platform across the board. So here we've got our stripped anodized upper and lower receivers with a Cam-Lock block, and our patented Cam-Lock system here with Cam-Lock screw and brass bushing. So we've already went ahead and assembled the Cam-Lock lever and the Cam-Lock button for you. So the thing that makes Cam-Lock special is that with your standard AR-15 receivers, we have roughly about 8 thousandths of play between the upper and lower receivers, between the pivot and the takedown pin, okay? With the centers being 6-inch, 250 thousandths center to center from the pivot to the takedown pin. If we equate 8 thousandths worth of play between those two surfaces, we're looking at about 3.8 minutes of angle of movement between the upper and lower receivers that are built in just by the error or the play in between those two receivers. So we thought about, you know, if we were to apply this to a bolt action setting, we would say, hey, if we wanted to make a bolt gun more accurate, the first thing that we would do would be to bed the rifle. So we took a look at the surfaces here and we said, how could we bed or mechanically bed this upper and lower receiver together? So when we machine these in-house, this flat surface and radius here are flat, and the bottom of this upper receiver is flat till we reach the radius. And so we said, well, we can take this and go contrary to what is on the market, which is a wedge, or we have those push spindles that come up here through the grip with the Delrin tip that would engage the base of this takedown pin trunnion right there. And we said, well, what if we can pull this receiver down into the rear and lock those two metal surfaces, those metal bearing surfaces together? And that's where kind of Cam-Lock was born. So when you take a look at Cam-Lock, a lot of people would say, oh, well, it's a wedge and it does this and it's not really worth it. What we've essentially done is that off of the pivot pin, once you lock this takedown pin in place, there's several thousandths worth of play. The magic here is going to be in the Cam-Lock block, where it grabs the takedown pin, and if you see, I'm able to move this block around quite a bit, all right? And in doing so, that allows this camming system to pull this block down into the rear, and we set that tension by the Cam-Lock screw and bushing here at the base of the receiver, all right? So each receiver being a little bit different, and we wanted Cam-Lock to work across the board, whether you had a DPMS or a Cobalt or an LWRC or whatever you wanted to run for an upper receiver, that our lower and Cam-Lock system would fit it and work just fine. So if I'm going to break this down to you and show you, as we take a look at the cam, which is really the magic of it all, and our Cam-Lock screw, we have this flat surface. I'm going to turn it towards you here. We have this flat surface, so the receiver would be facing in this orientation here, okay? And this would be in the down position as it's oriented to you. When this is in the down position or release, this Cam-Lock screw is sitting on that flat surface right there, so it's allowing this screw to protrude forward as high as it could possibly go, which allows the block to come up and out, which allows us to take the takedown pin out and we can disassemble our weapon system. However, once we cam the lever in the up position, okay, and I cam this up this way, all right, the screw now, which is engaged to the Cam-Lock block, has to jump over this ridge, and it pulls this screw with the bearing surface between the cam and the brass washer. It pulls that screw down into the rear. So by setting the tension for this screw, we can now operate and pull mechanically this Cam-Lock block down into the rear, okay? Which in essence brings the two bearing surfaces of the receivers down together, and it bites them hard between those two bearing surfaces. So now we have a bedding, essentially a mechanical bedding job between the pivot and the takedown pin, born between the two receivers as they made up. So we don't just have a single wedge here under the takedown trunnion, or a push pin under the takedown trunnion, which makes it kind of sit up and teeter back and forth, okay? We have more bearing surface between the entirety of the whole receiver put between the lower and the upper receiver. So we've essentially taken the 8 thousandths play, which is between the two receivers, and taken it out completely. And you guys will see that when you get your hands on a US Arms Cam-Lock receiver. You'll see the difference between the old DPMS, the Bushmasters, even some of your higher end, your Daniel Defense, they'll have play in them. And they're designed that way so it makes it easy to take down. And that's another thing that we kind of looked at. We said, well, we have to allow a little bit of play in there so when we unlock the receiver, all right, we can disassemble the weapon system. So Cam-Lock is one and of its own unique, and it takes all of the machining tolerances out, so that play that you got between, or that you were used to seeing between your upper and lower receiver, all right, is out of the way now due to the patented design of Cam-Lock. So we are unique, and it does actually tighten your groups up. So of the testing that we've done between Cam-Lock and non, we have seen a minimum of 40% increase in accuracy from a Cam-Lock to a non-Cam-Lock. So our base testing would be a end user's rifle, whether it be DPMS, whether it be Daniel Defense, across the board. We would take that rifle, we would shoot it with a given lot of ammunition, the same shooter, the same distance, same target. And we would change the lower receiver with the same trigger from just take the upper receiver off and put it on a Cam-Lock lower receiver. And what we saw in every instance was a minimum of a 40% increase in accuracy. So Cam-Lock does work, and it's not a wedge. It's not it's not a push pin or something that comes up from the handguard. So it's unique by itself. It's a mechanical design designed to bring the upper and the lower receiver together, wedging the flat surfaces and giving you the largest bearing surface on the market between your upper and lower receiver. So again, we thank you guys for tuning back in with us. We always love having you, and we'll see you again.